Hello, hello, hello. Hi, guys. How are we? All right. How's everyone doing today? Give me a second while I just get set up a little bit and get a little oriented. I'm getting having a little bit of a echo. So let me figure this out. How's everybody doing? Happy Father's Day. Happy Summer Solstice. What did you guys do today? I'm so excited to get into what we're going to be talking about today. And yeah, just getting into it because we're going to be talking about not only the summer solstice, solar energy, but also we're going to be talking about the divine masculine. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. We're going to be talking about how divine masculine energy plays a part in all of our lives, whether we are feminine, identify as feminine or masculine, and what that looks like in the divine form and how we can really tap into that in these crazy times to, use that in our lives to create what we want to create and to bring balance into our lives. Okay. My name is Amy Titus. I'm an intuitive and psychic development coach, and I help people to develop their intuitive and psychic gifts to embrace their multidimensionality, which means really stepping in and leaning into the fact that we are multidimensional beings. There's so much more to us than just the physical. And when we lean in, learn about that, and expand our connection with that aspect of us, wonderful, amazing, beautiful, miraculous things can occur in our lives. So I help people to do that. And I also help people to stand as their own spiritual authority, meaning that there is nothing and no one that could come in between the connection that you have with source, with God, with divine intelligence. And when we understand that and we truly embody that, we're able to walk with source energy, walk with God force energy every single day. And it illuminates our path and connects us that much more deeply to our own divinity. Okay. Thank you so much for everybody who is joining. I'm actually going live on a couple different platforms right now. I'm going live on Instagram as well as YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. So when you hop on and talk to me, let me know where you are tuning in from because I have family all over the web right now and I'm just starting my multi stream journey. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. I'll try to get to your comments when I can. And I'm just excited to be here on a Sunday evening. Usually during my lives during this time, we get in the comments, we chat, we kiki back and forth, we talk about these multidimensional and spiritual topics, and it's just a really good time. So, any questions that you have, feel free to jump into the chat and let me know. Also, just get in the chat and let me know where you're tuning in from, and yeah, let's get going. Okay. So, let me get this going here. Okay. What did you guys do today? How have you guys spent your Father's Day? For me and my family, we went hiking. We're out in Southwest Utah and we went hiking today and we're just out in nature. For me, being out in nature is the best way for me to really connect in with my multidimensionality, my divinity, and really just getting back to grounding, like being around all of these magnificent, beautiful rock structures. And then, of course, being there with my son and my husband made it so much better because he's 4 and we've taken him hiking his entire life, but now he's really getting into it, being able to like walk on his own and kind of like go off and like see different things, and we're looking at animals, and it's a completely different experience than I have had hiking by myself or with my partner, because seeing nature in that way through the eyes of a little boy who's 4 years old is just a very different experience. And it reminds me so much about like getting back to that when it comes to multidimensionality, when it comes to spirit, getting back to that childlike curiosity and that exploration and that experimentation when it comes to the energies that are around us, whether that be physical or metaphysical, multidimensional. So we were out there. We went to Snow Canyon. We were walking around. It was really fun. It was really hot though. We're out here in the desert, and so being summer solstice, it's the most intense sun energy of the year, and we're walking around the desert. So we didn't last very long, but we definitely got what we needed. And happy solstice to everybody out there. How are you guys spending your solstice? And what does the summer solstice mean to you? How do you utilize it? How do you utilize it to support your energy during the year? And what energies are coming through for you this year or today, excuse me. For me, the energy, and I'll get into this later in a different segment, but for me, this is obviously the most intensity that we get from the sun. The day is the longest of the year. And so I was talking to my community, high frequency T community, my members there, and just explaining to them how I use the energy of the sun throughout the year, and how I allow that to kind of fuel me, to give me momentum. And it's kind of like a roller coaster, like which part of the year is giving momentum, which parts I'm coasting. And we're going to talk about that later. But first, let's go ahead and let me check in the comments, in the chat. All right. Okay, let me check in the comments. Okay, Fire Skull. Okay, please let us know that you're okay. Yeah, hey. Oh, Shelton says, hey, girl. Hi. Danielle Shelton says, hey, girl. Yeah, Fire Skull, let us know that you're good. And I'm just going to continue on going until I hear back from you. Definitely, if you're not okay, please get to a phone, call 911, all that good stuff, so you can get the help that you need. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Father's Day and the Divine Masculine, okay? So as we talked about earlier, the Divine Masculine is not just about men. It's not just about if you're a man. Each person, each human being has both divine masculine and divine feminine aspects, right? And we use it as a yin and yang within our energetic system to balance us. We need both energies inside of us in order to function at our optimum and really create just balance in our lives. And so with it being Father's Day, it's an important time for us to, as feminine, also look at where the divine masculine or where the masculine is playing a role in our own lives, and really start to really scrutinize, or not scrutinize, but just really look at, be aware of, observe where the balance is, if there's if there is a lack of balance, and then what to do to get that energy back into balance. Okay, so with the divine masculine, whether that be in male or female, the divine masculine in its healthy form is all about protection. It's about provision. It's about holding a safe space, and it's about holding a container that is strong enough to support whatever's growing inside of it. Okay, it's about being decisive without being controlling, and it's about taking charge, taking aligned action, but being in a good balance with that, where it's like we act and then we wait to see what comes back. We act and then we wait to see what comes back. A lot of times we think of that masculine energy, we think of it being just a constant acceleration, but that's more of the shadow masculine, because with the healed, healthy masculine energy, it's about playing a game of tennis with spirit, playing a game of tennis with the universe. You act and then you let the universe show you, let spirit show you what it wants to show you, and then you act from that, right? It's like a conversation. When we're having a conversation with someone, and it's one of those things where like they're not really letting you communicate. They're not really letting you say anything, and they're just kind of speaking at you, and you like try to say something and then they rush in and speak over you. That's never a good feeling. That's not good communication, right? So we want to make sure that when we're in our divine masculine and we are taking those action steps, that aligned action, that we're doing that, and then we're waiting to see what to respond to, and then we take that information as data, and then that's how we're informed as like the next thing to do, right? Okay, let me get in this chat over here. Alien Superstar, thank you so much for the likes. Good to see you, girl. How are you today? How are you enjoying your summer solstice? How are you enjoying Father's Day? And you are so welcome. Thank you for saying that about being there. Of course, I'm so happy that you're here today in this live hanging out with me. Okay. All right. All right. So when it comes to divine masculine, the divine masculine energy, a lot of us weren't necessarily raised around a true example of divine masculine energy. And to be fair to all the fathers out there on Father's Day, right? And all the men on Father's Day, to be fair and gracious, nobody is perfect in their divinity when it comes to divine masculine or divine feminine, right? It's something that we're constantly changing and growing and expanding in, and hopefully we're growing and expanding in the way towards that divinity, towards that high frequency energy. But wherever we incarnated on this planet, whoever we incarnated with our parents as, that was a divine decision, and that means that it was something that we chose for ourselves, right? So when we think about most of our experiences throughout our lineage, when it comes to the masculine, some of us have the experience where that masculinity may have been more shadow form or less divine, or maybe you were in a situation where you were raised by someone who was very much in his divine masculine energy. Let me know in the chat if that was you, what that was like for you, or if this is resonating with you when it comes to that. And so a lot of us were raised around that wounded masculine, and sometimes that can look like control issues. Sometimes that can look like a lack of emotional availability or intelligence. And it can look really different for everyone, right? But we had these examples growing up. And then a lot of times that's how we base our own interpretation of what masculinity should look like as it's in us and as it's in the people that we're choosing to partner with, etc. Okay. So for us as women, as we're tuning in and as we're looking at, and men, as we're looking at this divine masculine energy and how we want it to show up in our lives and what it should really feel like in our body as we are doing that, there's an energy of peace, right? I was connecting with my guides a couple of weeks ago around the topic of divine masculinity, and the energy that they kept showing me was peace. This energy, this overarching energy of feeling held, of feeling like a peaceful environment is being cultivated with that protection and that provision as well. But that was the underlying energy. And as we think about our lives and just the collective at large right now, peace is something that is really missing from almost everyone's experience, especially people who are more entwined with what's going on in the world around, in the general collective consciousness, on the geopolitical scale. So when we think about divine masculinity and how much of it we're missing in our world today, in our collective today, and the fact that that piece is missing for all of us on some scale, I think that's one thing that we all need a little bit more of, right? So when we think about how that's not something that is overwhelmingly abundant for a lot of people, we know where we can start in our own lives. Like, where can we bring about more peace in our own lives? Where can we bring about more feeling of stability, even when the world around us doesn't feel very stable? Where can we bring that into our lives? And that's a question that we can all ask ourselves. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. My name is Amy Titus. I'm an intuitive and psychic development coach, and I help people to develop their intuitive and psychic gifts by leaning into their multidimensionality and understanding that we are multidimensional beings having a physical experience. And when we lean into and expand and explore and truly get familiar with our multidimensionality, we're able to live a life that is so much more fulfilling, so much more impactful, so much more potent, and so much more intentional, right? When we really learn how to use our multidimensionality to create the life that we want, by fine-tuning our instrument, by tuning up our sensitivity, and by gathering the data points that are coming in from the field, from the etheric field, there's no sharper edge that you can have. And that's what my clients and I are working through right now, just learning more about that, how to create a firm basis, a firm understanding, a firm spiritual practice, so that we have a good starting point to start opening up and expanding from. Hi, Zoe. How are you? Thank you for joining today. How is everybody doing out there? Get in the chat and let me know how things are going. Let me know how your day has been. Oh, Zoe, happy Father's Day. Let me know how your and it's on solstice. What a special day. So let me know how your solstice is going. Let me know how your Father's Day is going. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about the divine masculine. We're going to be talking about summer solstice. We're going to be talking about using solar energy to upgrade and uplevel our practice. We're also going to be talking about how the divine masculine works and operates in our lives. And it's going to be a fun show today. I'm super excited. So yes, we're talking about the divine masculine. Zoe, what is your experience? Well, I know you very well, Zoe, but I want to know what your experience has been when it has come to healing the divine masculine in you, and what effects, like what benefits have come from that work, that healing work, that soul work that you've done with that. Hi, Solar Age. How are you, babe? How's your day going? How's your solstice? We're multi-streaming again to Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. So if I haven't gotten to your comment in one of them, just give me a little bit of time and I'll get to that as I can, okay? Okay, so we're talking about, like I said, the divine masculine. And I want to talk about what happens is when it comes to the divine masculine and the divine feminine, right? It's like the yin and yang. It's supposed to balance each other out. And in our culture, especially this westernized culture, we're not necessarily taught that. Like, we're not necessarily taught about the masculine and the feminine and how to merge them together inside of our experience. If you're a female, then this is how you're supposed to act, and it's highly feminine. If you're masculine, then this is how you're supposed to act, and it's highly masculine. And if there's any deviation from that, if there's any kind of whatever or a shift from that, then society sometimes has a problem with that. But in reality, when it comes to our soul's expansion, when it comes to our soul's elevation and ascension, we need both of these pieces to be pretty well developed and pretty well balanced. And that looks different for everyone, right? Like, my balanced version of masculine may be more or less masculine than someone else's, whether they're male or female, okay? But for me, within my own energetic system, these two aspects of myself should really be pretty balanced. For me, growing up, I would say that, let me think about this. This is tough. My mom was very feminine, very, very feminine. My dad was very masculine, like very, very masculine. And so for me growing up, I feel like I had, it's hard though, because for me, I have a hard time seeing myself sometimes. And really like understanding the dynamic there. But I think as I look back, for me, I was feminine, but I did do a lot of sports. I would say, I'm not sure. And we're also multifaceted as well. What do you guys think? Solar Age though, like what do you feel like when you look back on your teen years and you look back on your formative years? Did you feel like you were more masculine, more feminine? Like, what was that balance like for you? As I'm sitting here trying to figure out where I was at on the spectrum when it comes to that. But as I've gotten older, I think I went through a phase in my 20s where I was like way more hyper masculine, right? I was on my get it girl, get it. I was taking care of myself. I was trying to, be in corporate, and I was trying to create this life for myself. And so I really feel like I was more in my masculine, less in my receptivity, less in my creativity, less in my, um, less in that feminine energy. And then as things kind of shifted, I think that as I came out of corporate and then I went into other fields and then I went into entrepreneurship, I know that my masculine energy hiked way, way up. And then I think with the birth of my son and how that shifted life for me and my husband and how things were working, that I was put in a situation where I was having to try to lean back more into my feminine energy. But because I had been in that hyper masculine for so long, it was really, really hard for me to surrender into that, to be open to receiving, to be open to just taking on more of that like nurturing, opening or open role energetically. And so I've been working my way back more into alignment and balance when it comes to that, just kind of inching my way forward. I think that it's hard when you're an entrepreneur as well and being feminine in this world that we live in. You have to be really intentional about how you're building your business, how you're operating your business, because it's so easy to get kicked into that like that hyper masculine energy. Even when you're in something like this, where it's like, I'm a coach, I connect with people on a heart level, I hold space for people, right? But it's so easy for me to still get into that like grinding mode where I'm just, just work, aligned action, forcing, selling, doing all these things rather than opening myself up to receive and really surrendering into universal flow and ease. Okay, let me get in these chats. Thank you guys for joining me really quick. I just want to introduce myself for everybody who is new. Hello to everybody over on Instagram. Thank you for joining me. Hello, everybody on YouTube, cousins on my YouTube side. Thank you so much for joining me there. My name is Amy Titus. I'm an intuitive and psychic development coach, and I help people to develop their intuitive and psychic gifts and lean into their multidimensionality. Okay. And the way that I do that a couple of different ways. I do things like these lives where we get together, we have conversations, we chit chat. I also have a membership community that's a high frequency tea community for women who are in the space where they're wanting to develop their intuitive and psychic gifts, but they don't have people around them or in their circle or not enough people that are going through these same experiences as them, as their gifts are opening up and they're having these different experiences, whether that be spirit guides coming online, whether that be starting to channel, starting to download, starting to have their clairs come on, whatever it might be. So we form this community where we can all come, talk, share our experiences, do some deep diving, learning some spiritual topics. And it's really a wonderful place to be. So if you're interested in that, check that out. The first month is completely free, and we would definitely love to have you. Okay, so let's get over to the chats. Over on TikTok, Zoe says, I'm well, and you? I'm doing well today. I miss talking to you. I hope we can get together soon. The Solar Age says, yay, had such a beautiful reading. Talking to my dad this morning. He's been with me all day, actually, just chatting with a storm. Happy Father's Day. That's amazing. And I'm assuming that you're meaning that you're talking to him in spirit. Is that right? That's a beautiful way to hang out and a beautiful way to spend your day on Father's Day. Absolutely. Zoe said, as it relates to the masculine, he said, I definitely had to find balance throughout my journey. It was easy to be masculine, and I had to spend time learning how to integrate the feminine energy. It's so beautiful because it's such a beautiful juxtaposition of like when you're a man and you're in the masculine, which society forces it on you so much, right? Society tells us as women who we have to be. Society tells men what masculinity looks like, what you have to do to be a man, etc. And so you have these different things kind of placed on you. And then it's our job to figure out what the balance is. And most of the time, what society has us do is the extreme of that side, right? So integrating that feminine energy is what Zoe was talking about. And then he said it would show up in relationships with women throughout the timeline to coexist with, including siblings and more. Yeah. So you're saying that through your relationship with women, you really were able to understand the feminine energy in you. Is that what you're saying? The Solar 8 says, I've always been more masculine than feminine. I got along better with boys than girls as a kid. Yes, my father has been gone since 2012. Rest in peace, Dad. Absolutely. Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah, that's really cool. And the Solar Age, I can relate to that. I think it's really interesting too. And that's a completely different conversation, really, because I think that a lot of women feel that way around getting along with boys better than girls. And I think that that has a lot to do with the subliminal collective programming that is implanted into our society around the competitiveness, even when it's subconscious, around women and other women, right? Like when we think about ancient times, when we think about tribal women, I'm sure there was like a level of competitiveness, but not to the degree that there is now because of the media, because of advertising, because of the beauty standards, because of all of that, where it's just like they've taught us that we are opponents, that we're adversaries, and then like they systematically give us ways to one up or be better than or whatever. And that's like so much ingrained, right? It's so ingrained into our mind when you think about so many different aspects of just life. But because I feel like at some point in growing up, I identified with and got along with and hung out with mostly guys. And then at some point that shifted and then it kind of shifted back. So I completely understand what you mean with that, because that ingrained competition or ingrained whatever, I wasn't feeling it coming in. I wasn't feeling it coming from me either. So it was like a more peaceful relationship when it came to having guy friends as opposed to girlfriends. And let me know how that resonates with you, Solar Age. Okay. And Zoe said, yes, that is what he meant when it comes to that divine feminine energy. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So when we think about that divine masculine, right, and we think about what it looks like as it relates to the divine feminine, it's like learning to rest, learning to receive, and rest without guilt. And so, I know we were talking about that. Learning to let the structure of your life support you without feeling like you always have to be the structure and that you always have to create the structure. And like reinvent the structure over and over again, like learning to trust that you also don't have to hold everything alone. Like there's a beautiful balance in that masculine and feminine where it's like, yes, we assert ourselves. Yes, we put out the action. Yes, we do what we can. But at the end of the day, we also trust that there is a stronger, thorough energy that's supporting us and that's really holding it together. And it's an energy that we are supporting, as well as it is supporting us, right? It's such an interesting conversation. And like I said, it being Father's Day, it's really important because when we look at the divine masculine or masculine energy in general and how we were conditioned growing up to see it and to experience it, to interact with it, it really predicates how we experience it internally until we go on our healing journey and really sort it out and balance it. I remember just growing up, I was really close with my mom, and she's a very feminine energy. And my dad and I spent time together. We spent a lot of good time together. But there was always just like a little bit of a, what do I want to say, friction, I would say. And I think that a lot of that really came from just us coming from two very different perspectives and not understanding as much, like not understanding each other as much. And maybe our energies just, I don't want to say clashed, but probably triggered each other a lot from past life stuff, from lineage stuff, from present life stuff. Okay, let me get back into the chat. Okay. Let's see. Let me see where to start here. The Solar Age says, as a woman, I've just always had a logical mind over an emotional one. Men understood me better. Zoe said, I learned that my inner balance within would reflect in the outer material world. Yes, exactly. That's such a good point too, because we don't think about what, it's so nice to talk about, oh, we want balance. We want to balance the divine masculine and divine feminine. But like, what does that mean? Why do we want that? And it's exactly what you're saying, Zodiac. It's like when we have whatever is going on internally is what we see reflected in the external world. As within, so without, as above, so below. And so as we are balancing ourselves out and coming into harmony internally, it can't help but be reflected in our relationships, in our everything externally, okay? Whether that's our body, our relationships, our finances, our home, just our connection in general. And it also really unlocks something very specific as it relates to our multidimensionality and our spiritual and psychic gifts. Being able to come online in a deeper way and being able to be more observant and more sensitive. And when we have that balance within us, it helps us to create a spiritual practice, a spiritual experience that has balance baked in it as well, right? We talk about this a lot in the high frequency T community, how it's like sometimes we have massive periods of opening up, of awakening, of lots of different gifts coming online. And so and there's no notice. It's not like we get a letter in the mail like a month before, like, hey girl, guess what? In a month, stuff's about to pop off. You're about to come into a greater understanding. You're about to have more gifts come online. It happens out of nowhere seemingly sometimes. And there is no warning. So when we have that inner harmony, that inner balance already built up, when we are experiencing these expansive things that can feel destabilizing because they're not our normal or we're opening up to new experiences, having that inner harmony and balance really, really helps. It really helps us feel like we're supported and stable even with those shifts. Let me know in the comments how this is resonating for you. Let me know if you have any questions as it relates to divine masculine, divine feminine, as we're taking a little bit of our time today on Father's Day to just explore some of these themes and how important they are in our everyday life, even when it's not this specific holiday. Okay, the Solar Age says, wait, so is the current timeline shifting to divine masculines coming into power? I'll be right back. I forgot my T's across the room. I need it. Hold on 1 second. And then I'll get into that. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so let's see. Okay. The current timeline shifting to divine masculines coming into power. I don't know. I haven't heard that. The energy is, I'm like trying to think about how to say this. I don't believe that is what is happening. I think it's more of like balance, right? It's like the pendulum is swinging both ways, first one and then the other. And so it's like some of us have been focusing on divine feminine. And I think this is more of an energetic energy as well, right? Some people have been focusing more on the divine feminine. It's been rising collectively in the collective consciousness on the planet for a little bit of time now. And so things are kind of moving back into that direction because, right, we're always swinging like towards balance. And then, so for those of us who have been working diligently on nurturing the divine feminine within us, there comes a time when now it's like, okay, focusing on the divine masculine again from that different perspective. Because it's like, say that a couple rounds ago, it's like we were focusing on the divine masculine. And then by the time that we start working on the divine feminine again, we have a completely different perception, a completely different perspective than we did before. And so now we're working on the divine feminine, and then we work on the divine masculine. But this time we have such a radically different understanding of it based on its counterpart and what we learn from that it's like it's a continuous pivoting, tweaking, adjusting. And I think that's more of the flow of the energy rather than like the divine masculine is coming into power or anything like that. Let me know if that makes sense and let me know how that resonates for you. Or if it resonates more with you, the solar age, that like, yes, my masculine is coming into power now. I would love to hear your perspective. The solar age also says my mother was jealous of my father's and I's relationship. So weird. We were besties, him and I. Okay, yeah. Do you think that she was jealous because she wanted more of your attention? Like she wanted to be with you more? Do you think that was it? Okay. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any chats here. Okay. All right. So yeah. And so it's like I was saying, when it comes to this balance, right? And that's something that we just have to lean into more and more as it feels right. And it really comes with understanding how the divine masculine operates in you, how the divine feminine operates in you, and then intentionally observing and acting from that understanding, right? It's not going to look the same for anybody. It's all about observing and really witnessing yourself and the energies as they're working. And this brings a really good point up that I talk about a lot, because if we don't understand inherently our own energy, if we're disconnected from our own experience, meaning that you know your energy so well that you know when something's off, you know when you're being affected by an outside energy, whether that be somebody else's emotions, a non-physical entity, a collective thought form, like you know your energy so well that when these other things come into play, you immediately know it and you're able to single it out and say, this is what's going on. This is where I feel it in my energetic body. This is what I know it to be. And then you're able to like act on that. That is a place that we really all want to get to. And that's another aspect of learning of leaning into, your multidimensionality. Because when you get that familiar with yourself, that you're able to move with that precision, with that amount of precision, it really changes how you're able to operate in the world. So it's like, if I can feel, okay, this is my divine masculine activating, this is my divine feminine, this is my shadow feminine activating, this is my shadow masculine, it really changes it, because we're no longer just kind of being thrown around by the waves and the winds. We're actively, intentionally moving to the best of our ability. Obviously, nobody's perfect. No matter how well you know yourself, we're dynamic individuals. We're living individuals. So we're constantly changing, constantly adapting and expanding and growing. And so there's always a level of getting caught up to where we are now, understanding and gaining that familiarity. But at the end of the day, we want to get as familiar as we possibly can with our own energy so that we can adjust what we need to adjust in real time. Let me know if that makes sense as well. Okay, the solar age says, my mom was, okay, my father chose me over everyone. They know I was his favorite. Oh, that's so funny. How did that make you feel when it comes to the relationship you had with your siblings and everyone else? Are you an only child? I feel like I remember that. Is that you? Let me know. How did that make you feel though? Like with knowing that you were his favorite and you guys had this close relationship, did you carry anything when it came to that? Solar A said, I was referring to the twin flame journey. Sorry for the awakening of the masculine. The feminine awakening first in twin flame journeys. It's exhausting waiting on the masculine though. Oh, I'm sorry. I must have missed a comment. I must have missed something that you said. When it comes to that, because that's really interesting. Just when it comes to twin flames specifically, twin flames is such an interesting conversation as well, because there's so many different layers of it. It's so nuanced and everybody's experience is very different. But as it relates to within the dynamic of the collective twin flame experience, you're saying that it's time for the masculine to start waking up to that. That's really interesting. According to your ideology, do you feel like there's going to be a mass awakening of sorts of masculine within the twin flame experience? Is that what you're saying? That's really interesting. I have not heard that. Because I have not experienced a twin flame situation. I'm not as well versed on that because I haven't experienced it yet. Zoe, is this too personal? You don't have to answer if it is. Do you have a twin flame, Zoe? Or have you experienced that? Zoe and I talk about all kinds of things, but that doesn't mean he wants to tell me on TikTok live. So don't feel like you have to. The Zoe said, I'm an only child on my mom's side and youngest of 5 on my dad's side. Okay. Yeah, so when it comes to your step siblings or half siblings, excuse me, on your dad's side, what was it like? How did that change the relationship with y'all? Yes, you had just joined us. Congratulations. Welcome in. Welcome in. We're talking about the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies. And we're talking about multidimensionality today and how to use solar energy to up your spiritual practice, to up your spiritual experience, as well as how to use the divine masculine and divine feminine to experience balance in your life. Okay, so as we're seeking to get that balance when it comes to divine masculine and divine feminine, I wanted to share my story a little bit, and I kind of did earlier, but I'll kind of get back into it. With me, I am the youngest daughter. I have a brother and a sister. And they're a little bit older than me. They're like 6 and 8 years older. So I was really able to see my brother being a boy, my sister being a girl, and they were much older than me. So it's like I felt like a little kid watching what it should be, right? Like watching how boys and girls, men and women conduct themselves, act, and obviously we had our parents too, right? But for me, and I was into softball and I did some other things as well. So it's like I related to my feminine side, I related to the masculine side, but I really felt more masculine, right? I had that energy. I felt it being more masculine was not more prominent, but I feel like I really had to try more to be feminine. In my own mind, I wasn't feminine enough. There was something about my conditioning, whether that be familial or just collective, where I was like, I'm not girly enough. I don't, I didn't feel it, even though there wasn't really anything that I wouldn't, feel feminine or girly around, but I just didn't really connect and I didn't really feel that way. So I felt like I had to overdo it a little bit. Maybe I felt like I had to really try in order to connect with that energy. And I think that meeting my friends when I was like a freshman, sophomore in high school, meeting my other girlfriends that would remain my like lifelong friends basically, and forming strong feminine relationship with them really helped my own femininity balance out and kind of expand and bloom. And so that comes to another aspect of this conversation, when it's like the community that we choose helps us when it comes to developing these divine aspects of ourselves, whether that be masculine or feminine. So let me know in the chat, when it comes to your life and the community that you have around you and the friend groups that you grew up with, did they support your divinity when it comes to your masculinity and femininity? Or was it hard, or maybe, I don't want to say did they discourage or deter you from it, but was it harder or was it discouraged to walk in the path of that divinity when it comes to the masculine or the feminine? Let me know in the chat. For those of you who are just joining on YouTube, on Instagram, thank you so much for joining me today, and Facebook. Thank you so much and TikTok. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Amy Titus. I'm intuitive and psychic development coach. We're just talking about multidimensionality, talking about divine masculine. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. My favorite thing is when in the chat we're dynamically talking, we're co-creating the conversation, and I'm able to, and everybody is able to benefit from that conversation and from that co-creation. Okay, the Solar 8 says, my siblings are 20 plus years older, but when my dad died when I was 18, I got closer with his other kids. No one in my family saw my dad be a father until I was born. Interesting. Okay. Yes, get in the chat so I'm not the only one in here is what is what the solar age says. She's like, I'm really carrying this chat today. That is so funny. Okay, let's talk about the summer solstice, guys. Let's talk about the summer solstice and writing the energy of the year. We were having a conversation, and the solar age was actually a part of that conversation. We were having this conversation in my membership community that was really about how we see the year, right? Because here in the Western world, we kind of look at summer as being, or we look at like, winter being the beginning of the year with like the new year and all that, and then summer being halfway point, and then, everything like that. And some people, some traditions, some perspectives are like, the first of the year doesn't start until spring, which I am on board with. It's interesting because for me, I follow the sun. So, and I was thinking about this, the solar age. I was thinking about this after we had that conversation in the membership community, because I follow the sun. So in the winter, as soon as the days start getting longer, which is the winter solstice, right? That's when I consider my new year to be. So the moment that the days start getting longer, that's what I follow. And so then summer solstice, like today, is the longest sunlight of the year. And so from here, this is like the peak of the year, and then it falls back down, right? And so it's funny though, because just because my year begins with the winter solstice, that doesn't mean what I think Western culture thinks it means, or has kind of through propaganda, like the new year, like new year, new me. I got resolutions. I'm starting all these things at the beginning of the year. For me, the beginning of the year marks rest, hibernation, chilling, gathering your resources, your energy, and just like sitting in that almost contemplative energy of just like, the year has started, but we're starting from a place of like planning and energy, like reserving, as opposed to like jumping into stuff. And then for me at spring, that spring equinox, that's when my effort starts. That's when my energy starts. And of course, I'm always doing effort. I'm always in aligned action. I'm like doing these things. It's not like I'm just chilling, but energetically, cyclically, my burst of energy for the year doesn't really start. And that means like things that I'm creating this year, right? Like obviously everything that I've already created is going, has its own momentum. But when it comes to the year's energy that is specific to the year that we're in. So for example, in December 2025, or even like January 2026, the energy was yet to move forward when it came to what I was planning for this specific year. And then when it comes to spring equinox, that is my cue to move forward, to get going, to put these things into action. Everything that I've taken the first season to plan out and to gather energy for, gather resources for, right? And then at spring, that's when we move forward with that. And then by summer, I was thinking about this is kind of funny. And then by summer, that is all the momentum has built up. And then from that explosion of energy, that explosion of momentum, that energy carries me through the rest of the year. So it's really like, I was thinking about this when I was making dinner for my son. It's really like a roller coaster. Like think about going to like Kings Island or something like that, or whatever amusement park you have. It's like you get in the seat and you're in the little station. That is winter, right? You're preparing yourself, you're getting clicked in, you're getting your like jitters out, and you're just waiting for people to get on, right? Then as you're moving forward and you're like building the momentum up the hill, that's like spring. Then summer's at the top of the hill. Although momentum has been built up, all the energy needed, I should say, for the momentum has built up the top of that hill. And then that top of the hill is summer. And then that energy releases out through the rest of the year. And then by the time that the car gets back into the little shack, into the little structure, it's winter again. You see what I'm saying? Like that's how it is for me. And I had so much fun like thinking about that analogy for real. Because it's just like, for me, the beginning of the year isn't about action and effort. I think it's really interesting how these New Year's resolutions, these plans, these goals. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. When really the soul, body, mind, emotional body needs time to calibrate to the new surrounding, needs time to like, okay, this is the situation, this is the environment. What are we going to do? Like, and we plan and we understand what's going on energetically, and then we move after that. Let me know how this resonates with you, and let me know how you spend your energy throughout the year. So now it's summer solstice, all of the momentum, all of the energy, I should say, needed to take me from here through the rest of the year has already been cultivated. It's already been created in the field. And now I get to obviously do action, obviously work, but the momentum of the universe is behind me, carrying me through the rest of the year. And for me, it feels so relaxing in that way. It feels so like, take a deep breath, like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, this is like the most effort is getting to this point for the year. And then it feels really good just to ride the roller coaster through the rest of the year, knowing that the momentum is at my back. Let me know how this resonates with you. Okay, the Solar Age says, I think I'm going to celebrate New Year's Day, April 1st, every year now. January 1st feels like the true beginning of the fourth quarter for me. April feels like quarter one. Love that. I do feel a lot of fire, action-oriented energy with this solstice. Absolutely. I do too. And I don't know if it's because it's the year of the fire horse. Also, there's just a lot going on with the solar energy. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, how to use the solar energy of summer to help alchemize and also help catalyze the things that are going on in your life energetically, and like use it as fuel to keep you moving forward, right? And we always move forward, but like to keep you moving forward without feeling burnt out, without feeling like you're having to exert so much effort, okay? And I like that what you said, the solar age, about like, you feel like January 1st is the beginning of the fourth quarter, right? Like, we all have the ability to decide when the year, quote unquote, starts for us, and like ride that energy based on who we are energetically as people. I would love to know on an individualistic level how that relates to human design, astrology, numerology, I Ching, all these tools that we have to better understand ourselves. I would love to see if there's any correlation between like when your first of the year feels like versus mine, based on what these other measure devices for measuring ourselves say. Because like, I'm a projector, and so it makes sense that I would like need to use the energy of the sun to like move me, right? Because I don't have that that consistent sacral energy, which is part of that fire energy as well. Okay. It's also interesting when you think about like where Cancer falls in your chart, as because like, like the timing of that, like at figuring out where Cancer falls in your chart and what house it's in, and then what planetary elements are there as it relates to how you see this as well. And the same with Aries, honestly, because Aries is at the same time as the spring equinox. So that's another way that you can layer on some different energies to figure out like, hey, how should I be orienting my year so that I'm making the most of it out of the energy that's available to me? And this is something that's really important, because as we're navigating our lives, as we're navigating the collective, as we're figuring out how to move our energy and we're tuning more into our multidimensionality, anything that we can use to help us along is really important. And that's why it's important to really have a good understanding of ourselves and our own energy. And when we don't, when we have a blind spot, when we have something that we really don't understand or don't see, don't have a good grasp on, it's important to find the help, find the support that you need, whether that be through TikTok, whether that be through working with a coach. I have a really special session called the Intuitive Activation and Clarity session, where we intuitively go through your energetics, we call in your guides, and we really work through anything that is feeling blocked, restricted for you, any energy that's stuck, any patterns that you continuously are falling into, with the help of your highest self and your guides that I pull in and communicate with and channel, so that you can like get a firm footing, understanding what's going on. And then of course we do energy clearing, and I give you the tools that you need so that you can do clearing on yourself as well. And in these sessions with my clients, people really feel like weight is being dropped off of them, and that they're able to really see themselves clearly, like what they have been, things that have tripped them up in the past. And just that awareness of that and observing that allows them to really feel good about moving forward and have a really intense feeling of momentum, right? It's like when your car is stuck in a hole and you're spinning your wheels, and then finally you get like caught out and you get a momentum burst forward. It feels like that, and is really helpful. So if you're interested in that, if that feels like something that resonates with you, that aligns with you, something that you're interested in, I have a link for that session in my bio. Okay, let's talk more about solar energy and solar plexus activation and stepping into our authority. This is one of my favorite times of the year, and I'm so interested. Let me know in the chat what your favorite time of the year is. This is one of my favorite times. I'm born in October, and so I'm a fall girl like through and through. I love the weather change. I love the leaves. I love the hot cider. I love picking apples in the orchard. Like all of that stuff gives me so much life, and I just like I'm getting giddy right now just thinking about fall. And we just started with summer today. So, but I also really love summer, specifically Leo season. And I think it has a lot to do with that solar plexus activation. I think it has a lot to do with the Lionsgate portal that has always been really expansive for me. Let me know if you know what the Lionsgate portal is in the chat. Let me know if it's an energy that you work with yearly. For me, it's an amazing portal that really catalyzes and alchemizes what I'm going through, sometimes in a very dramatic and chaotic way, sometimes in a beautiful, smooth way, sometimes like somewhere in the middle. But when it comes to that time of the year, Leo energy. Also, it's one of my favorite aspects of the or times of the year because my Lilith is in Leo as well. I have Lilith and Leo and eighth. So if you know anything about astrology, that is a huge placement when it comes to who I am. And as I've gotten older, that time of the year where the sun is really shining on that aspect for me has gotten more impactful, more powerful, and I appreciate it more and more because I see the energies at work. I see what's going on behind the scenes. Even when it's painful, even when it's chaotic, I know that so much is like metamorphosizing in my life. And so it's something that I can really get behind and appreciate. But when we're talking about the summer solstice and the impact of our solar plexus that has, we have to talk about our solar plexus, what that does in our lives, and how we could really use that energy and heal that energy so that we can do the things that we want to do in our lives. Our solar plexus is all about our I am identity. It's about our willpower, our determination, self-value, believing in yourself, and really feeling okay to be yourself and present as the unique individual that you came to be. Here also lies, I believe, that innate curiosity about who we are. I think in everyone's life, they go through a period where they ask themselves, like, who am I? Multiple times. This happens multiple times through different parts of your life. You're like, wait, who am I now? Who am I now? Who am I now? And when we have a healthy solar plexus, we're not only able to ask ourselves that question, we're able to like go deep and look at different versions of ourselves, good and bad, different aspects of ourselves, and then make micro adjustments so we're moving in the direction that we want to as it relates to who we actually want to be, how we actually want to present. When we look in the mirror or when we talk about ourselves or when we think about ourselves, is that in alignment with who we actually want to be, right? And that can be like when it comes to your job, your family, your friend group, anything as it relates to yourself. You can really, during the time of year, it's a perfect time to really do a self-inventory on like, who am I? Who am I to myself? Who am I to my partner, to my kids, to my friends, to my coaching clients? Like, who am I? And is that who I want to be? Is that how I want to present? Is that, and not from like a mask way. I'm not talking about like, who do they see me as? And I have to change how I act for different people. No, I'm talking about at the core of who you are, the core of your identity, in alignment with the energetic offering that you have. Who are you in these different roles and different facets in your life, right? So when we think about the solar plexus energy and using the energy of summer, there's so much solar energy coming in. And honestly, there has been for a while, like solar energy has been pumped up, as we know. But using that energy to heal the I am, and we can do this in a lot of different ways. One of the most practical ways is just to sit in the sun and meditate on your solar plexus. And as you're meditating on your solar plexus, ask these questions. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And allow the energy of the sun to not only balance, but also to lift up that energy, to raise that frequency, and to communicate with you. Each of the energy centers are portals to higher dimensional planes and to higher dimensional aspects of yourself. So this solar plexus that I have is the same solar plexus that my highest self at the 9th dimension has. So we can communicate through dimensions when we meditate and use our energy centers, right? And each energy center has a bank and library of information an energy that has its own language. It's almost like each energy center has its own language, right? So when we tune into our solar plexus, we can connect with higher dimensional aspects of ourselves and get information about how to bridge the gap. See what I'm saying? It's like we can get information on how to raise our vibrational frequency of that energy center through communication with our higher vibrational aspects. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Let me know if you want me to go deeper on that, on what to do. And for those of you who are just joining me, my name is Amy Titus. I'm an intuitive and psychic development coach, and I help people to lean into their multidimensionality, understand and embody the fact that we are not just physical beings, we are largely multidimensional. And when we understand that and we utilize that and we live as such, we get to have such a different perspective and way of being that is so much more in alignment with who we actually came here to be and who we were created as. Oh, hi, Maisky, over on Instagram. How you doing, girl? How's your day today? Happy summer solstice. How are you spending your day today? And let me know how you're doing in the chat. Okay, so when your solar plexus is imbalanced, let's talk about this, okay? When your solar plexus is imbalanced, it can look like chronic self-doubt, people-pleasing, difficulty making decisions, shrinking yourself for other people to make other people comfortable, giving your power away to external authorities. Remember, one of the things that I teach is that we are our own spiritual authority and we don't abdicate our spiritual authority to anyone, meaning that we don't need anybody in between our connection with Source, God, the universe, whatever you call that highest power. We don't need to go through anyone to get there, whether that be a teacher, whether that be a reader, a coach, a guru, your parents. You are your own spiritual authority. And so the only thing you need to focus on with that is training yourself back into, conditioning yourself back into your connection with that energy, right? And that's where people like me come in to help you do that. But after that is solid and done, you don't need, quote unquote, and you never do, but you don't need anybody to act as a facilitator with your communication with spirit, right? It's like you don't need anybody. I've been a coach for 6 years, and I've done a lot of reading during that time. Like I've done a lot of reading people's energy, like for work, right? So people will come to me, they'll get readings on their energy, what's going on in their lives, what's to come. Am I going to get that job? Is that guy going to call me? Are we going to move? Like all these different things, right? And initially when I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients. And initially when I first started, I was just doing the reading, right? But pretty quickly on, my guides came in to show me like, all of these people, because what would happen is like I would accurately read for them. Those things would happen in their lives. And then they would come back, right? They would just keep coming back, almost like they were getting addicted to getting the reading, right? And initially, it was like, okay, we're doing these things. But then my guys really came in and they're like, Amy, your gift also is to help people understand that they don't need you to read energy for them. They don't need you to read for them if they're going to get that job or if they're going to move or if he's going to call. They have all that they need to do this themselves. And so eventually you're going to be moving into helping people build that for themselves. And so from that time on, that I kind of got that information that my true purpose when it came to my psychic and intuitive gifts was not just to read for people and tell, give them readings. It was to help them find a path to their own spiritual intuitive gifts and psychic gifts. My taste for readings really went downhill, right? Because I was seeing how easy it is for people to just abdicate that spiritual authority, abdicate their own knowingness because somebody can like read their energy, if that makes sense. Okay. So and this can come from an imbalanced solar plexus, right? Like when you feel like you need to go to somebody and get the answers that you actually have access to building that skill for yourself and doing it so you can do it whenever you want to, whenever you need to, you're abdicating your spiritual authority, you're abdicating your authority, right? Another way that we can see that the solar plexus is in balance is needing validation, external validation before you can trust yourself. So for me, with my clients that were coming to see me, it's so many times, and this happens even to this day, so many times, my clients will already have the answer. They'll already know. They'll come into the session. They'll be like, hey, this is what I think is going to happen. And then I read the energy and I'm like, yep, that's exactly what's going on. So then it's my job with what I do to then walk them through their experience of getting that information. Why do you feel like, or where did you get this information that this is what was going to happen? Or that you thought this was going to happen, like really reverse engineer it. So I can walk through the process. So it's like, hey, look, you got it. Like you pulled this information, you read, you channeled, like you did it yourself. You just came to me for validation, which is an important piece. Honestly, it really is. But when we can get to the point where we no longer need that external validation and we just trust ourselves and our own experience and what we're reading in the field, it means it's such a big deal. So when our solar plexus is in balance, we need that external validation in order to feel secure enough to move forward with trusting ourselves and taking action. Okay. Now, when our solar plexus is balanced and activated, we feel confident in who we are. We make decisions from clarity, not from seeking approval. And we know our worth. Like we understand our inherent value. We understand what we're good at. We understand where our unique zone of genius is. And we're not afraid to stand in that light and be like, yeah, this is me. This is what I do. This is what I'm good at, without shrinking to make other people comfortable. And this isn't about being braggadocious. It's not about being arrogant. And especially for women, I feel like it's such a hard line to teeter, because when women stand in their authority, when we stand in our gift and our power, the world sometimes has a problem with that. It sees us as being overbearing or cocky or whatever it might be, even if we're doing it at the exact same level as like what a man would do it, right? So it's like we are conditioned and taught that like, hey, you need to really tone it down and be more humble and all those things. But really, when you have a balanced and healthy solar plexus, you're not afraid of saying like, this is what I'm good at. Here I am. See me for all that I am and value me accordingly. Like, I don't need you to value me, but value me, or, I'm not going to participate in any situation where I'm not being valued like I should be, right? Okay, let me get back into these chats and see what is going on. Thank you again so much for joining me today. Everybody out there, my name is Amy Titus. Okay, let's see. The Solar Age says, does summer solstice always fall on Father's Day? No, it does not. It does not always fall on Father's Day. I feel like Father's Day is late this year. I feel like it's usually a week earlier, I think, but I thought it was always supposed to be on the same day. You know, like Mother's Day is the second Saturday in May, always. I don't know what that is for Father's Day, but it does feel like it's very late in the month. And let me know, anybody in the chat, um, let me know um, if you have an answer on when Father's Day usually is. Because no, I don't know that I've ever known it to fall directly on the day of the summer solstice, ever. Summer solstice doesn't have to be on Sunday either, but Father's Day does. So I think that has a lot to do with it. This energy feels extra strong and masculine. Honorable Waterfall. Hi, Amy. Good to see you. Hi, Honorable Waterfall. How are you, babe? How are you doing today? How was your summer solstice? How was your Father's Day? What's going on with you? We were talking about twin flames earlier a little bit. We weren't talking a lot about it. We were talking about it a little bit. Have you felt the energy of your twin flame up today? Like, has it been more intense? Has it been less intense? If you feel like it, let me know in the chat. And the solar age says, so this makes sense for my theory surrounding the masculines and the twin flames. How so? Oh, because Father's Day specifically is on the solstice for this year, and so it would be hyping up. It would be turning up the volume, I think is what I'm trying to say, on that masculine energy. The solar age says that is not coincidence. No, we do not believe in coincidences. The solar age said because the awake. Honorable says, I remember it falling on the 19th one time in the past. Yeah, it can fall on any day, really, to like during this weekish, I think, in this 7-day period. The solar age said, because the awakening feminines have been waiting years for our masculines when it comes to twin flames. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I am well, Honorable says, my sleep schedule is off though. Interesting. Do you think that has to do with the longer daylight hours? Let me know. All right. So let's keep talking about the solar plexus as it relates to more solar energy. It's the summer solstice today. We're talking about divine masculine as well because it's Father's Day for anybody joining. And let me know if you have any questions in the chat as we go. Let's get back. Yeah, let's get back into solar plexus though and talk about this. So sun energy, the sun energy is solar plexus energy. Our solar plexus is the sun within our own system. Think about it. We have, it's pretty well positioned in the center. So think about if you were to lay out your energy centers horizontally, right? And think about the solar plexus being the sun and then all of the other planets orbiting around the solar plexus, okay? The solar plexus is the sun and it affects our other energy centers intensely because it is our identity center, right? And everything revolves in this human experience, everything revolves around our own identity, how we see and experience ourselves first, obviously, that's where our consciousness is. And then it goes out from there. So when we think about the frequency of the sun and the frequency of the solar plexus energy being the same frequency, just on the macro and the micro, when we intentionally bring solar energy into our solar plexus, it's like tuning rods that are coming into the same frequency even more. And that's also setting the frequency for the rest of our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual bodies, okay? So you can really activate your solar plexus on purpose with so much intentionality when you know how. And using solar energy is so important. Like, this is how I feel as well. Like when I'm sunbathing, like I'm laying outside and the sun is hitting me, I can always feel it hit my solar plexus in a very intense way. I feel it hit above my navel and just kind of spread out because they're syncing together and your solar plexus is activating. And when your solar plexus activates, right, you have more confidence. You have you feel more in your I am, the I am that I am, your I am identity. And when you think about summertime in general, no matter where you live, summertime with those longer daytime hours, with more of that sun energy, think about how collectively we act in summertime versus wintertime. So I live in a very interesting place for this because I live in Southwest Utah. So my winters are not bad at all. Actually, people are way more outside in the wintertime than they are in the summertime, because the summertime actually is a little bit can be dangerous outside because it's so hot and the sun is so intense, it will burn you up. I had never experienced my car seat actually burning me, like giving me a second-degree burn from getting back in my car until I moved here. So it's like, it's a different world out here than it is like where I'm from in Indiana, where it's like wintertime is cold, you're inside. Summertime is nicer outside, you're more outside, right? But it's like, even in the energy of it's summertime here in Southwest Utah, we're starting to be inside more. Like, we went hiking today with my family. We were only out there for like an hour, because whereas like, in the springtime or the fall time or even the winter time here, we would be out there for multiple hours, right? But we were just out there for a little bit because we can't be outside like that. But even though that is the case, my energy within my body, all four bodies, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, is really amped up. My mental energy and clarity, my spiritual energy, my emotional energy, my physical energy, I can feel that they're more charged, right? And not in a negative way, but just like they're more active, they're more aware, they're more present, and they just feel activated. So it's like, we have more access this time of the year to that solar plexus healing, and we can really set ourselves up to have a balanced and healthy solar plexus with this activation for the rest of the year. And I think that's really honestly how it was designed to be as well. The different parts of the year, we can take aspects of them and use them to help our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual bodies that help move us along through the rest of the year. Let me know if this resonates with you, and let me know how you feel. Oh, that's what I was talking about. In summertime, people are outside, they're hanging out, they're more social, they're going out to restaurants more, they're having fun, they're at the pool, they're going on vacation, they're taking Fridays off, like there's a different vibe this time of year. And it really is one that's focused on more being out on the street. Like, me, Amy, I'm out there, my identity. This is not the time of year where I am hiding myself, where I'm sheltering myself, where I'm in my hermit mode. For most of us, it's a different energy. Even like I was saying, that was my whole point. Even when you live somewhere like me, where it's like, we can't really be out like that in like the dog days of summer. Okay, let me know how that resonates with you, and let me know what you're like in the summertime as it relates to the different seasons as well. And if you feel like there is a charge to your I am during the summertime, like think about all the cute outfits, think about the different activities. And it's like, we go to the concerts, all of that. And and that's like a very summertime thing. I think about Montel Jordan's summertime song, like fantastic song. If you're not familiar, it's a fantastic song. But it's like, we could be out in the springtime, we could be out in the fall time, no matter where you live, right? But summertime has that very distinct energy of, this is who I am, and I want to get out into the world to show who I am. Let me know how this resonates with you. Okay, let me get back to these chats. Okay, Honorable said, I am well. My sleep schedule is off though, probably because I've been having naps and staying up late. When you stay up late, what do you do? Are you scrolling? Are you reading? Are you doing something else? Are you watching TV? What is it that you're doing? I'm like so interested. It doesn't have to do with anything that we're talking about. I'm just interested. I have been in a mode where I was scrolling a lot. I think I talked to you about this, or I just talked in the membership community about this, but I was really in a phase where I was scrolling a lot, like to a degree that was kind of unhealthy, I feel like. And I would just catch myself on my phone scrolling, like, oh, I was cooking and now I'm scrolling. Oh, I was playing with my kid and now I'm scrolling. And it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I actually have to do something about this. Now, I do have like an app on my phone. It's called Screen Zen. And it, depending on like, whenever I go to like get on my socials, it makes me like wait 5 seconds, and then it takes me to this other screen, and then I have to go this other screen. So it's like, I have to intentionally really get to my socials apps. But even with those mechanisms built in, I still find myself like mindlessly, I was still finding myself mindlessly on TikTok. And then I was like, okay, I'll get off TikTok and then I'll go to YouTube Shorts. And then I would just mindlessly be on YouTube Shorts sometimes. So I have intentionally backed off from scrolling on TikTok and only using it for work, like my coaching business. But what I have started doing, which I love, is I started watching podcasts on YouTube, like long form. So I'm like, okay, if I need to be on my screen watching something, then at least I'm intentionally like watching something, interacting with that thing. And the thing that I'm living right now, the podcast that I'm binging basically is Kiki Palmer's podcast. She has like 100 or so episodes and they're so good. I've been having so much fun. I basically watch one like every night. Okay. Okay, so Honorable says what she's doing is mostly listening to TikTok lives. They have been interesting. Love that. So that's like pretty much what I'm doing too. It's not necessarily like scrolling, like, the scrolling the 1 to 2 minute videos. It's like intentionally choosing one person to get into their energy and stay there for a little bit. I love that. I really do. Okay, the Solar Age says, I think there may be a connection between low vitamin D levels and an imbalanced solar plexus. I believe so as well. When you think about, oh, it's so sad. When you think about how much time people don't spend outside, you know what I mean? In general, it's a lot, and I think that it's just a sign of the times. It's a sign of like, different people's priorities. I just remember when I was growing up during the summertime, we would spend all evening outside on the deck, like hanging out. We would eat out there. We would hang out and like I wasn't drinking at that time. Obviously, I was like in school, but we would have our little drinks, like our soda, and we would just like sit and talk. You know what I mean? And just be in the lounge chairs or at the table, just having conversations. And the sun, because it didn't go down for a long time, would just be on us, right? Or we would be taking walks as a family, like things like that. And then as I got older, I would be out on the streets in my 20s, in my early 20s. Like, we'd be walking up and down the street. I lived in like downtown, where the city where I was raised. I lived downtown and there were lots of bars and shops and restaurants and like the strip. So I would just like walk. That's like where I lived. I would just like walk up and down, meeting friends, like just being outside. And I think we're in a period post 2020 where people aren't doing that as much. And also just for different reasons, people are just in the house. Also, it has to do with it's so easy to just, like we were talking about, get on TikTok and just scroll. It's so easy to do that. And where before it may not have been so easy just to do that, right? But and like all the streaming services and all of that, and it's just really easy to be inside, not to mention the rampant social anxiety and just things that keep you isolated, right? I know, Solar Age, I know that you spend a lot of time in the sun, don't you? I feel like you do. And Solar Age, when's your birthday? I'm so interested. Okay, the Solar Age says, I don't know, I'm up scrolling late too, but I'm always feeding my mind with growth and positive content. It feels more like I'm learning and growing late at night, not doom scrolling though. Yeah, January 24th. Oh, love that. That's your birthday. So interesting. Love that. So you're Aquarius. Are you an Aquarius? Yeah? Isn't that, yeah, that's Aquarius, right? That's really interesting too, as it relates to where you identify the beginning of your year to be. Another thing, and this goes back to the conversation we had at the beginning of this, we were talking about how we use the cycle of the year and where for each of us that new year feels most relevant. Like despite, New Year is January 1st, blah, blah, blah. But energetically, where does the beginning of your year feel like? Is it the spring equinox? Is it the winter solstice? Like, where is that? And Honorable Waterfall, I would love to hear your opinion on this when it comes to energetically what your first of the year actually feels like. But the Solar Age, another reason why the beginning of the year feels like the beginning, the winter solstice feels like the beginning of the year for me is because I'm a Capricorn rising. Period. I know that's so much of the energy because that's right at Capricorn season begins. And like, that's really, for me, it's that energy, I think, that really motivates that more than anything else. Because with my rising sign being Capricorn, I feel like a Capricorn, especially in how I outwardly face. And so like I just have that momentum kick into gear right at that time. And then Capricorn is already about those putting those structures together, figuring things out, planning, like we were talking about, not necessarily like the act, push, 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 but like we're going to build those structures and systems. And so like right at that winter solstice is when that energy kicks off for me in a big way, being my rising sign. Let me know if that makes sense. So it's interesting again, like how all these different aspects of who we are, whether that be astrology, human design, numerology, they all add to our experience of the calendar year and the energetic year of like, this is when we're planning. This is when we're sowing our seed. This is when we're acting. This is when we're riding the momentum of all of the action that we did. This is when we're gathering up the rewards in the harvest. This is when we're preparing for that hibernation or like going back inward. I think it all really relates to each other, which is again why it's so important to understand ourselves on that level and to get more and more familiar with who we are when it comes to that, you know? Because then it's like, oh yeah, I understand this very deeply, like why this is. And again, I think that's also my Capricorn just coming out, just wanting to know and understand the systems and getting a good grasp on them. For those of you just joining, my name is Amy Titus. I'm an intuitive and psychic development coach, and I'm streaming today on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So if you have any questions, any comments, want to talk about anything specifically, please let me know in the chat and I will try my best to get to you as quickly as possible. Today, we're talking about the summer solstice and we're talking about Father's Day, divine masculine, and how these things come together. We're also talking about our solar plexus, which is inextricably linked to solar energy, and how we can use solar energy to activate our solar plexus so that we can stand more firmly in our I am presence and our self-worth, our self-value, and our motivation, all of those things that really come up this time of the year, right? Like we were talking before about how this is the year when we feel that desire, that drive to be in that I am and to step out and to show who we are, to really show what this year has created when it comes to us so far. So that's what we're talking about today. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, the solar age says, I do spend a lot of time in the sun, but I am so heavily melanated, my vitamin D levels remain low. Oh, that's hard. The solar, how else do you get vitamin D? How else do you get vitamin D? Yeah, I'm gonna ask that. This also says, sun rays bounce off me because I'm so dark. You're so silly. My skin doesn't absorb the sun or something. I think that it does. I think that it does. I'm pretty sure the more melanated you are, the more your sun actually absorbs sun energy, the more your skin and body in general absorbs sun energy. But don't quote me on that, but I'm because I've heard that from multiple sources, but that doesn't mean that that is the unequivocal truth. So let me know why you think that, girl. Let me know why you think that around not absorbing sun energy. Okay, so the solar age said Aquarius sun, oh, that's right, we're Gemini moons together. Yes, and Pisces rising. I could totally see that Pisces for sure. Honorable says, I just have been going by the calendar, but it may change as I am able to see and feel patterns or shifts. Solar age says, I have to be prescribed supplements for my vitamin D. That is so interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I would be interested to see how that does for me when it comes to vitamin D. Even though I live basically on the surface of the sun. Where do you live? Oh, I know that. You live on the surface of the sun too. You live on the surface of the sun too, but in a much more pleasant way than I do. At least you have the beach. The one thing I love about where you live, Jaleesa, too, is like October can be so hot. And so like it can be so hot there, which is like I generally in the past would go visit your city in October for my birthday to visit my sister. And it would be like the perfect time because it was just so warm, but it was like that fall sun. Anyway. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving. Let's see, we have a comment. Uh, okay, so we have a comment. It's called HVACR Life. Their comment is, what shape is prominent throughout many scales of nature, including living systems? It is a path to total efficiency and fractal growth. Also consider the geometry of adaptation. Is this like a quiz? Is it like a is this like a quiz? The thing that comes to my mind is the Fibonacci spiral. Is that what you're talking about? Let me know. I'm interested now. Okay. Okay, so let's keep talking about this. Okay, so we talked about what happens when you have a blocked solar plexus, and then stepping into your authority and making sure that you are activating your solar plexus, especially this time of the year when we're able to use the solar energy to do so, right? Like, and let's talk about another way that you can use the solar energy to activate your solar plexus, because just because you're inside doesn't mean you can't do it. Honestly, just because it's nighttime doesn't mean you can't do it. You can always activate solar energy anytime that you're on the planet. But let's say that you're wanting to use the sun specifically, right? So what you can do is sit outside in the sun, imagine the golden rays of the sun coming from you. And you can, for me, they always kind of form in symbols, in shapes, and they kind of have a wave to them, right? So I allow that energy, I tune in, and what I'm doing is just seeing what's already there. You can see like I'm closing my eyes right now because I'm visualizing how the energy comes to me. So the energy moving through the space, from the sun to me, and then I can feel it accumulate in the space that needs it most for me, because the solar energy is really high vibrational. And the relationship that I have with the sun is that it heals me on whatever level needs to be healed, whether that be on in my physical body, my emotional body, mental, or spiritual body. So I see the energy coming. I feel it when it lands in my body, and then I feel it kind of like swirling to whatever area it needs to go to for my greatest healing. And then after that, I start moving it to different places. So say that it didn't initially go to my solar plexus. Eventually, I would move it and sync it up with my solar plexus to help activate my entire system. Because like we talked about earlier, your solar plexus energy and solar energy is the same, right? So it would be like if you had a little cup of water, but you wanted more water, you could take water from a pool or a pond and dump it into this cup. It's the same thing, right? So that's how I use solar energy. And there's so many high vibrational beings and entities, energies that are solar based. So you can really play with that when it comes to like who you want to work with. If you're developing your connection with your spirit guides, asking for help outside of your own physicality, and connecting with different beings for this purpose of activating your solar plexus, or just integrating that solar energy more and more. Another place I like to bring in solar energy is the crown of my head and my third eye. The solar energy with my third eye, and I think most people, it's very activating, and it really helps you to see and differentiate energy in the physical. And what I mean by that is like it helps you to be able to see the earth grid, the sky grid. It helps you to be able to connect with other people's energy fields when you start to feed solar energy into your third eye. I actually have a question for you guys. Sun gazing. And this is not, I'm on TikTok and on other apps, so I understand that I am not advocating for gazing. Has anybody here sun gazed, and what was your experience? Okay, to that question around the shape, HVACR Life says correct. Oh, good. I'm glad I got that one right. So what was the purpose of asking that? I would love to know. Fibonacci spiral is a really obviously powerful energy. The first time that I ever came in contact with it, was when I was a bartender. This was years ago, honey. Over 10 years ago. And I was a bartender, a bar manager, and we would use Romanesca as a garnish. And Romanesca is that green cauliflower-ish thing, but it grows in the Fibonacci sequence, in the Fibonacci spiral. And I just remember the first time I saw it, I was literally just staring at it. I was standing there staring at it, and I like set one on the bar top, almost like you would put like a flower or like a crystal, and I would just have it sitting there, kind of like facing me, and I would just be looking at it while I was like making cocktails. shout out to shout out to that time of life. But it's like, it's a very powerful energy. And it's really important because it reminds us of how everything is always growing and expanding, and it does not stop. Like, we are never stagnant, even when we feel like we are, or even when we feel like we're not growing in the direction that we want to. We are constantly in motion, constantly moving, constantly evolving, and there's nothing that we can really do to stop that. Thank you for asking that and bringing back that beautiful memory of the Fibonacci spiral and the Romanesca. Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable, for the likes. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. It's been a wonderful weekend. Very fun, very interesting. I'm excited for this week. What are you guys excited for moving into summer? Is there anything coming up for you guys that you're just really looking forward to? Is there anything that you're just really like wanting to like get into when it comes to expansion? This is a really great time of the year to expand. And when it comes to our spiritual and psychic gifts, our intuitive gifts, and how they can really help us in everyday life, right? I talk about this a lot, but when we develop our intuitive and psychic gifts, it's not just like a spiritual hobby. It's not something that we're doing for fun. It's something that we're doing so that we can have a better perspective, a better understanding of ourselves, first of all, and then the world that we live in, the dimensions that we live in, our multidimensionality, what's going on. It's like accessing a code that we're then able to read so then that we can make aligned decisions when it comes to our lives. I can't even tell you how many times that spirit has communicated with me when it comes to exactly what to do. And then I followed that directive, and then I had massive, massive results. I was talking to one of my clients recently, actually, because for me, sometimes I don't ask. I have an amazing guide team, and they will usually always tell me exactly what to do. And those things are very successful when I follow the advice that I ask for, right? Because we ask for that advice and then they give it to us. But sometimes I don't ask, even when like you might, but I think that it's because I know that their energy is so potent. Like, what they're going to tell me to do is going to kick me into a different level so intensely that I'm almost not afraid, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm just the couple of times that I've had really outstanding, like life-changing results when it comes to that, when it comes to channeling advice from my guides, and it literally changing my entire world because it's so effective. It was so shocking to my nervous system, which that's not a bad thing. It was absolutely not a terrible experience, but I think that's one of the reasons why I don't ask more. I'm not asking about every little thing. I'm not asking about, how to create this or create that. And maybe I should, you know what I mean? Maybe that's something for me to like really look into and look under the hood as to like why, if I have this resource, if I have this connection, why I don't go into it more or like ask for it more. But when we understand that through our connection with spirit, our highest self, and multidimensional planes, we're able to really have access to information that helps us move towards our goals, move towards our own healing and expansion in a way that we wouldn't have access to. It's so important. It takes it from being like, oh, this is something fun and cute and exciting, to like, this is fundamentally how I operate and how I live my life. And I think actually a lot of it also has to do with our ability to believe that we deserve to be master creator beings and master manifestors in our own lives, right? If we can have access to divine intelligence, infinite intelligence, and high vibrational beings that can help and support us, And to do that, we just have to sharpen our intuition and our psychic gifts and our ability to channel and read. Then why wouldn't we do that, right? So if you are a person who has been thinking about, hey, I want to develop my intuitive and psychic gifts, I can feel more things coming online for me. I'm having different multidimensional experiences. I'm not quite sure what to do, where to go from here. I would definitely suggest that you look into my psychic development coaching one-on-one. That's when we get together, we talk about where you're at. I read your energy, bring in your guides, connect with your highest self, and channel those beings. And we talk about where you are at, what is opening up for you, how to further support those things opening up for you, and really give you that foundation and support that you need, as well as new tools to put in your toolbox so that you can keep going and feel that support and protection and stability. A lot of times people aren't as excited about actively, intentionally opening up their gifts because they may feel scared, vulnerable, which is completely valid, completely understandable, but they may not feel like they have the support and the tools to take care of themselves as they are expanding into this new version of experiences, right? And so that's what this session really does as well. It gives you those tools that you need and that support system so that you can feel confident in that. Okay. And then after that session, you can always join HFT, which is the high frequency T community, where women are coming together, discussing their multidimensional experiences and bouncing ideas off of each other, getting in the threads, talking about different things. And we also have multiple lives a month where we do deep dive trainings on different topics. And then also where we just get together as women in this space and just talk about what's going on. It's an amazing, powerful group. And it's really, really fun. It's really, it's just really fun and really connective. During this time, we need people who are on the level at the same level as us, who are doing the same thing that we're doing, who are focusing on expanding their intuitive and psychic gifts, because it can feel very lonely and isolating when we aren't in communication with people that are on the same journey, because we feel like, am I the only one out here doing this? Am I the only one who is experiencing these things? And it's different when like you're on TikTok or you're on Instagram and you're scrolling and you're like talking and you're seeing people talk about it. That's a different experience than actually like communicating. Hi, user 83680. How are you? Good to see you, girl. How's your day today? Happy solstice. Happy Father's Day. All that good stuff. Happy Divine Masculine Day. Okay, the solar age, let me get back into some of these chats. The solar age says, honestly, I'm really excited to dive deeper into talking to animal spirits. What about you? Is that what the WBU? What is WBU? What about you? I love talking to animal spirits. Animal spirits are definitely the first ones that came to me as spirit guides. And I still work with animal spirits today. Really, though, I feel like every time I see an animal in the wild, it's a spirit guide. You know what I mean? Because the earth is so big, and it's like, depending on where you live and like where you are, like any animal that you see, I feel like has a message for you, because animals really are a part of the grid. So they're part of like the dynamic foundational software code of the 3D matrix that we live in. So there really aren't any coincidences when it comes to that. Like when you think about like a hawk being in the sky and you're driving or something, right? Like what are the chances of you seeing that hawk, right? Or like you seeing that eagle, or you seeing that lizard, or you seeing that like whatever it is, like what are really the chances of it? Because the sky is huge. You're going to tell me that that hawk just happens to be above you and you happen to be looking in that same exact direction at that time when it could be literally anywhere. You know what I mean? So I just really feel like they are just messengers regardless of how deep your relationship goes with them, right? And it's so valid and so helpful to just, when you see an animal, like go read the spiritual connection behind that animal, because there's always a message. I will never forget one of my very first spirit guides like that was a chipmunk. And then I've just had a lot, like blue herons have really meant a lot to me. Bald eagles have meant a lot to me. like so much in Indiana where I lived. And then even here in Utah, when we first moved to Cedar City, there were just, I would be sitting at my desk, I could be like this. And then my big windows were in front of me. I was looking out my windows, like out at the mountain. And like multiple times a week, like right here, this window was not that big, but like this eagle would fly directly over to where I would see it coming and then it'd like fly directly over my house. Like, what are the chances of that? A bald eagle like just lining up in that very specific place like multiple times a week? No, it's definitely a message from spirit. And the fact that bald eagles kind of followed me from Indiana, because they were right before we moved, they were very active in my life. And then we moved to this new place all the way across the country and still seeing this very specific eagle, right? What else? Road runners have been really active. Lots of geckos because there's a lot of lizards here. And then Black Widow last a couple of years ago, where we were living, I went outside to the back porch and there was like these weird spider webs that I had never seen before. And intuitively, I was like, girl, these are Black Widows, even though I had never seen a Black Widow and never seen a Black Widow spider web. But I was like, this is Black Widow, like through and through. So I like looked, because it like almost looks like cotton candy. It's so different than like any spider web that I had ever seen. And so I'm like looking around because I'm like, okay, this is Black Widow, like let's not get bit. And I'm like looking around, and then sure enough, like right by the air conditioner unit, it was just a Black Widow spider like sitting in its web. And I was like, wow, that's wild. And then I like went and I looked up like the meaning of Black Widows and all of that. And it was very, very relevant to what I was going to at that time in my motherhood and my business ownership. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, shoot, do I have to call the exterminator to like come get this? I'm like, I probably should. Unfortunately, because, you know, I had a toddler, like a 1-year-old at the time, 2-year-old, 1-year-old. I'm like, I probably don't want this Black Widow spider just hanging out where we're playing. So, but yeah. Okay, let's see. So Solar Age, what animals have been coming to you and what messages have they been bringing you? Okay, Honorable says, I'm ready to get into the water. Yes, I love to do that, but I've been working the least amount than I ever have before. I love to, but I've been working the least amount than I ever have before. I've been seeing a baby possum lately. I think it lives in our oak tree. Oh, I love your oak tree. Honorable has this amazing live oak tree that feels like it's been on the planet since the days of the dinosaurs. It's a very ancient energy. Okay, so Honorable, when you say I'm ready to get into the water, and when is your birthday, Honorable? Question. Yeah, so my son and my husband are fire signs. They're both Aries. And so they stay in the water. And I'm like, listening to, like, you need to balance out that energy. But like today they went swimming. Yesterday they were in the splash pad in the backyard. I love to swim as well. Like I like to get in the water, but the water drains me. Like being in the water really tires me. And the sun really tires me out a lot. Like a lot. Okay, guys, let me know if there's anything else that you want to talk about today. The Solar Age, I would love to talk about what animal spirit guides are coming through to you and for you and what you think that means. I would love to hear that from you. Honorable says going to the beach at the end of the next week. Oh, that sounds so amazing. So amazing. I have not been to the beach in a while and I really need to. The beach is so cathartic and soothing for me, for sure. How long are you going to be there, Honorable? And are you going there just for pleasure or do you have something else to do as well? The Solar Age says, so far I've been talking to dragons, a gorilla, a lion, and my centaur. I love that. So wonderful. And do you feel like, what was I going to ask? How are you feeling with that? Like, are you feeling confident with your ability to open up, to communicate with them effectively? What has that journey been like for you? They want me to use AI to create them. I mean, Tony, he's cute. Tony. Oh my gosh. They make me feel safe in ways that humans don't. Love that. Isn't that so beautiful as well? Because when you think about spirit guides in general, and when you think about animal spirit guides on top of that, because of their energy, again, that the inherent energy that they are comprised of because of their interaction with and composition when it comes to the grid, when it comes to the earth grid, they're there as guides and to help, but there isn't the energy ever that they want anything from you. And I think, let me know if that's the difference for you when it comes to like, they make you feel safe in a way that humans don't, meaning like they're there to serve, to help, to protect, to share, to show, but they don't want anything from you. Really, the only thing that they want is to help. And like, that's it. Like, and not just you, they want to help you, but then also the earth in general. It's a very pure, altruistic energy that I don't even know that humans have the ability to have, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, we talk about dogs in that way. Like, a dog's love for you is completely different than any human's love for you. And even that's a little bit different because that dog still wants something from you, where like they want you to take care of it and to feed it and to love on it. Whereas spirit animals do not have that need, and they do not even have that desire to interact in that way. Isn't that so interesting? Let me know how that resonates with you as well. Honorable says, going visit my mom and dad. They live about an hour away from the beach. That's so fun. Oh, that'll be so fun. I love that. The solar age, yes, says yes. They aren't asking me to beg them for stuff or give them any offerings. Right. They're just like, yeah, because the thing that they want is the vibration, frequency and vibration of the planet to rise, right? And they know that by helping you, that will happen. By helping you, the vibration of the planet will rise, and that's like what they want, period. So it's like they get what they want by helping, period. You don't really have to do anything else. You know what I mean? And honestly, that's how a lot of guides are. A lot of guides, not just animals, right? Like, a lot of the guides that we work with, whether that be extraterrestrial or multidimensional, a lot of their goal is really to help the vibration and frequency of the planet to raise, period. For humanity, for the galaxy, for the universe, like for whatever, but that is their goal. And so when they find people that they can work with, them working with you is going to raise your vibration. It's going to raise your frequency. And if you're in the vibrational capacity to even communicate with and work with them, then you're a powerful being. You have a lot of energy coming off of you, and you have a different vibration, right? Like a different frequency in general. This kind of life, this kind of conversation, this kind of way of being is not for everyone, right? So it's like they can sense that. And so they're helping you in order to help raise the vibration of the planet. Now, when you're working with extraterrestrial guides, there are also other agendas that are in there. And so you have to make sure that your agendas align when it comes to what y'all want. And so that's why I always, whenever I'm working with any guide, with animal guides, you don't have to worry about it as much because their frequency is that of Earth's frequency, Earth's divine energy and frequency. So you really don't have to worry about it in that same way. But when you're working with extra-dimensional and extraterrestrial guides, it's important to have the guardrails that you're only working with what you want to work with. Meaning, if you're only wanting to work with beings of high frequency light, you set those as guardrails. If you're only wanting to work with beings who are in alignment with the divine plan, then that's your guardrails. But you have to set those intentionally when you're working with those kinds of guides. When you're working with animal guides, like I said, that's kind of built into what they are and who they are. They're just supporting the Earth grid, planet Earth, etc. So you don't have to do as much there. And our animal guides just teach us so much about who we are, about our life, about how to see things from a different perspective. When you think about all the animals in the animal kingdom, they all have their own perspective, like whether it be because of where they live, their size, what they eat, how they commune with their families or not. Like, they all have these very unique experiences based on like the animal that they are. And so that archetype can teach us so much. Okay. Solar age. My animal guides have powers that humans and other entities just don't, especially to protect. Yeah. There's a lot of protection, a lot of guiding, a lot of teaching. etc. Thank you so much, New Vista, for the heart. I appreciate that gift. Thank you for joining us. How have you been? I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while. I hadn't done a live in a while, up until last week because I had to take a little break, but we're back, baby. We're back and we're multi-streaming. Okay, guys, let me know if you have any other questions, if you wanted to talk to you guys. You missed an earlier comment about Tony. Oh, let me go get it. Let me go find it. Thank you for letting me know that I missed it. I don't see it. About the centaur? Yeah, I don't see it. What did you say it? Or who said it? Happy Father's Day, New Vista. We were talking about the divine masculine earlier in the show and just how important it is to balance with the divine feminine and like what the expressions are. And yeah, what has your experience been when it comes to integrating the divine masculine? I don't see that comment at all because I definitely. Oh my gosh, the solar age said, "Oh, I just saw how Tony wants to be a black man so bad." I was like, yeah. So when he showed himself to you, is that what he looked like? Like he is, but he's a centaur, but he is a black man. Nuvis said that's exactly. Oh, yes. Okay, sorry, Nuvis. You said, oh, wow, I missed it. Yeah, you missed that part of the conversation. That was like 2 hours ago. And then you said that's exactly where I am right now, integrating both energies within. Love that. And it's so important. And I just kind of talked about, like as women and as men, we're really like, this is who you should be to be feminine. And I struggled with that growing up. I just never really felt feminine enough. Not to mention all the other things I was going through when it comes to being like an energetic sponge, being in a very emotionally energetically intense house, and not really feeling grounded, stable, or like I had any support with what I was going through energetically, what I was going through multidimensionally. And it really caused me to, feel spun out and really not a little bit, very unstable. But I never really felt like I was feminine enough. Which looking back, I'm like, I don't know why. Like I definitely was a very feminine girl and very feminine teen. But it's kind of like because of how we're taught that we should be, we should look, we should act, we should feel. And I think when we do not have a good balance on that masculine feminine, it automatically causes massive instability and imbalance in our lives. Because you think about it, like masculine and feminine is the yin and yang. And so with that circle, any imbalance is going to throw us off. And so I feel like we're all constantly moving forward adjusting, I should say, to get that imbalance. But first we have to understand that that's something we do have to get into balance with. And then we have to start to observe ourselves and be aware of our energies. And then we can definitely go from there. You know what I mean? No, girl, he did not say that. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the Solar Age has a Centaurian guide, a centaur, which if you don't know what that means, think about Harry Potter, think about half man, half horse, and think of she said, and his name is Tony, and he asked her to create his image with AI, right? And so then the Solar Age said, he literally asked me to make him black because he likes the muscle tone of our people. Uh-huh. I mean, can anyone argue? But when I think about, okay, so my question to you is, girl, what is his skin like? What does his skin look like? What is the tone and color of his skin as he is? And you're a Sagittarius North node. That's why Tony is here for me. He helps me with exploration. I love that for you. That's so beautiful. I love that. I love that. I have a lot of Sagittarius placements as well. I think I have a stellium there. I have a stellium there and in Scorpio. But I haven't really dug into that. That's another reason, and I say this all the time, but this is another reason why I love astrology, because it's like this beautiful story that's constantly unfolding. But also when it comes to your natal chart, like like different aspects of it are more important or more prevalent at different times in your life. And I feel like there's always something new to discover, even though all the information is very fixed in your natal chart. But I feel like things that I have like passed over when it comes to my natal chart come up later and are very important for me to study and understand. And that's just the nature of living with the transits and your natal chart together and understanding how things fit. I just love it so much. The more that I lean into it and learn about it, the more I'm just like, I love this so much. It's so helpful. And like I always say, there are so many tools that we can use that are passed down from generation to generation. New tools are being discovered and channeled and downloaded. And all of them just give us a better understanding of who we are, our place here, what our energies are, and how to use that information to create the life that we want to create. It's like they're cheat codes and toolkits that we can use or not, but they radically change the way that we see ourselves and life and humanity, and beyond. Okay. The solar age said, Tony helps me with traveling and being more open to the journey. He knows I have anxiety. Yeah. It's really great as we develop these relationships with our guides because they do know us so well and they accept us. And at solar age, I'm sure that you can attest to this, but it's like, even though they know us really well, there is never a energy of judgment. Sometimes they come with like real ass truth, like hard truth, but it never even really feels blunt. It just like feels like they're just reading you down and just telling you what it is. And you're like, oh, and if you get read and it makes you feel a certain way, then that has more to do with you than it does with the reader. Am I right? Like it has more to do with you. Okay, New Vista says, at the solar age, learn to embrace the feminine spiritual energy aspect that has been more prevalent. Beautiful. Then once I started doing that, understanding what divine masculine energy is became easier. Ooh, that's so nice. Understanding what divine masculine energy was versus society's view of masculinity was different. Yes, that makes so much sense. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier when it's like there is a societal view, a collective view, a shadow view of what masculine and feminine are. And then it's our job as we ascend, as we raise our vibration, to come into more awareness to what that healed version looks like for us personally. Because it's like you can have a list of like, these are the divine aspects of masculinity, right? And like a generic list. But until you understand what that is and what that looks like for you, it's not applicable. You can't really do anything with it because my divine masculine and my divine feminine looks completely different from somebody else's, right? And how that works for me, how it plays out in my life, how it manifests, how it changes me is completely different. It's such a unique experience and expression. Okay, the solar age said he first appeared to me, we're talking about Tony the Centaur, as whatever Pinterest showed me centaurs look like, non-black. And so he said, no, I want to be black. Okay, well, he said, no, that's not it. It's like building a sim. He's like, no, that's not what I want right now. That is so funny. The solar age said, at New Vista, does society discourage you from tapping into your feminine? New Vista says, at the solar age, it did for the longest time because it's rare to hear male divine feminine. Absolutely. Just in the same way, it's rare to hear like female divine masculine, right? There's such interesting programming around the fact, and it's like, this is purposely done, intentionally done to keep us out of our balance and to keep us out of alignment. Because it's like anytime that you would even still now, if you associate femininity with a man, like you're saying something specific, about his sexuality. And like, that's not it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what we're talking about. But in the collective consciousness, especially unhealed, it's like, that's the connotation. If I speak about a man in any way when it comes to femininity, I'm speaking on something about like his sexuality, gender orientation, or something like that. And in a way that's like emasculating when it's not true. Like masculine and feminine live together. Just because a man has femininity, which all do to some degree, that doesn't mean that they are not masculine and that they're not a man. It's like a very nuanced conversation. But things like situations like this and conversations when we're talking about what divine feminine and what divine masculine actually are, help to clear it up in the field and collectively when we're talking about like, yeah, no, these programs, these, what do I want to say? These restrictions placed on us around how we can express and what it means to express in this way and to lean into these different aspects of us, right? Are man-made, they're constructed, and they're not constructed for the purpose of our expansion, our alignment, and our balance. They are constructed to keep us small, sick, off balance, and oppressed. Nuvista says, between that and the misunderstanding of my sexuality in my younger years. Exactly. Yeah. The solar age said, Nuvista, I don't think society honors men tapping into their feminine side. That's unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate because like it's all there. And like and it shames us. And for women too, honestly, it's like if you're too masculine, you're shamed. You know, you're called names, you're called this, you're called that. Women who, you know, are too masculine, they're or quote unquote too masculine, but really like if you even just tap a toe into masculinity, even a little bit, you know, you're the B word, you're bossy, you're uppity, you're this, you're that, you know what I mean? Like you're aggressive, like you're all these different things. And it's like, we all have a full spectrum. And it's about finding our own balance, right? Like our own balance. And like I said, mine doesn't look like yours doesn't look like mine. Nuvista said, at the solar age, more examples are coming out in the last few years, so it helps to see other examples. Nuvista, then I thought about Prince and Michael Jackson. They embodied both, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, those are two people who were like, here's the thing, though, about them. Those are two mega superstars, right? But if you took Michael Jackson and you put him in a random neighborhood somewhere, he would be ostracized. Right? If you took Prince and put him in a random normal experience and that was how he operated and acted, he would be looked at in a certain way and ostracized. Let me know how you feel about that. And I'm not trying to like speak bad about humanity, but in reality, like that's where we are. But because they were superstars, they had I don't even know, neither of them started off where they ended up. Michael Jackson, when he first came out of the scene, obviously he was just a little boy, right? And then he became famous and became a superstar. And then he was able to express how he wanted to. I'm pretty sure Prince was similar, although I think like in his earlier years, it was a more mild version. And then as he exploded up, then he was like, okay, I can really be who I want to be. And by then they were already superstars. So society accepted them as the artists and people that they were. Let me know how you feel about that. The solar age says, I think more men should tap into their feminine energy. The world needs nurturing from all sides. Yeah. And it's amazing because the feminine energy that comes out of a man is nothing like and cannot be the same that comes out of a woman, right? Like they're two beautifully different expressions of femininity, same as masculinity, right? So we need each to be in our balance in order to make the world in order to help the world heal. The solar age says, I think of singer Neo as divine feminine for some reason. Interesting. Nuvista said, the solar age, at the solar age, I can see that. The solar age says, and people like Tiana Taylor as divine masculine for some reason. Nuvista said, exactly, it's different. Yes. Where do you guys think that comes from? The collective programming, the shadow programming that keeps us out of being in our divine masculine and divine feminine as men and women, like the programming that's sold into the collective that shames us, guilts us, makes us feel weird, or tells us that we have to be a certain version of masculinity and femininity. Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that was born from? The solar age, okay, so going back to Tiana Taylor, did you guys see her last movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? And if so, what did you think about it? I could definitely see with Tiana Taylor being, I don't really know her in anything but that movie though. What other movie or show was she in? Because I do not know her from anything else. Um, Nubis has said, exactly, it's different. The solar age said gender roles are to blame. Yeah. Nuvista said the feminine energy from a man versus a woman is different. Yes. The solar age. As a woman, I hate washing dishes. I'm going to let my husband do it. I'm like, I don't know anybody who likes washing dishes. If you're here, let me know. Pacific Tree Frog. Hey, girl. How long have you been here? Hi, honey. How are you? Pacific Tree Frog says, I actually don't think the divine masculine and divine feminine are different in divinity. They feel the same to me. Interesting. They feel the same to you as in, what do you mean? Like they have different aspects, they have different characteristics, but they feel like they're from the same source energy? Or what do you mean by that? New Vista said the expression of the energy is different as it relates to, I'm not sure. You guys, thank you for having this conversation with me. I love getting on live and just having these. Thank you, The Solar Age, for always holding me down. Thank you, Pacific Tree Frog, for being here for me as usual. New Vista, thank you so much. It's good to see you after such a long time. Hopefully we can meet up here. And then, of course, Honorable Waterfall, thank you for being with me and interacting on my lives and all of those things. It really means the world to me. And it's just a wonderful way to connect and talk about these things, and a wonderful way to make friendships and be in community. It's really, really, just really important to me on my journey. And as a business owner and as a coach, I've loved incorporating this, and I'm going to continue to do so. If this is the kind of, if you're watching and you're like, I really love this vibe, I love this energy, I have a high frequency tea community that is for women who are exploring their multidimensionality and their intuitive and psychic gifts. And it's a great place to talk about the experiences that you're having and just feel community and support in. And if you are somebody who is actively developing your intuitive and psychic gifts and you want to take it further, but you're not quite sure where to go, you're having psychic multidimensional experiences, but you're not quite sure, like what to do next, or you're wanting some more insight, I do offer a coaching that is a one-on-one psychic development session. And that is where we get into your energetics, what's going on with you, what's opening up for you. I call in your guides, bring them forward. We have communication with them. And then we learn where you're going to go next, what's going to happen for you, how it's going to unfold. And then I give you tools in order to help support your journey and your expansion. So if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, if you're liking the flow of the conversation that we're having, and you're wanting to go deeper, definitely check out that link. It's in my bio. Okay. Let me get back into the chat one more time before we plan to wrap it up. If you have any questions out there, if you're wanting me to talk on anything specifically, let me know in the chat. Now is the time to do that before we wrap up. Let's see. Pacific Tree Frog says, I mean in that when the energy is divine, there is no masculine and feminine. That is a social construct. Honorable says, thank you. I enjoy your lives. I enjoy you being here, babe. I really do. The Solar Age says, interesting, to Pacific Tree Frog. New Vista says, MJ and Prince aren't like macho men. You don't think bodybuilder can build a house, etc. type of men. type of men. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying, New Vista. I really do. It's like there's so many different kinds of men, just like there's so many different kinds of women that doesn't say anything about their divine masculinity, right? And like when I think about divine masculinity, I think about providership. I think about protection. I feel about providing or creating a space for everyone that is within that dynamic to be able to expand and grow. I think about like, so it's like you're a space holder, you know what I mean? I think about leadership in a way that is not demanding, that is not controlling, that is of the heart, right? When you think about like the king of, what am I thinking of? Thinking about like the king of hearts, right? It's like he is so emotionally intelligent and mentally and intellectually intelligent, but like he's able to make decisions from a different point. And because he's using his heart and his head in equal measure, you can trust his leadership, right? Like it's a completely different thing. But because a lot of us were we grew up around the shadow masculine, and just seeing it generally, there's like a confusion around what masculinity is, right? And so yeah, I'm right there with you. It's like it doesn't really have anything to do with how you express. It has to do with who you are on the inside and how you lead, how you hold space, how you what you create with your energy, right? And then we think about divine feminine. When we think about divine receivership, we think about divine nurture, growth. We think about what was I gonna say? Being the womb of creation. Like the woman is the space where it grows. The man is the protector of that space, right? And also when it comes to divine masculine, something that people don't talk about as much is like the ability to hold peace as a frequency. I believe that is a divinely masculine trait, of holding the peace and creating an environment and supporting an environment of peace. Both to, I like this feminine masculine talk. Oh, wait. Okay. I see the energies as the same in their divinity. New Vista said, that's why I said they embody both energies. The Solar 8 said, I like this feminine and masculine talk. Can we go deeper into examples? And then I just did that without even seeing that. New Vista said, yet they were attracted to everyone. I mean, people were attracted to their essence. Yes. New Vista said, okay, I'm listening. I don't know who you said that to, though. Solar 8 said, New Vista, Prince was especially so feminine, yet all the women wanted him. New Vista said, being rooted and grounded, yet connected with the heart. Yes. And like equal parts heart and head, right? Because that's what leadership is, right? It's not just being analytical, logical, and deciding from there. There's a huge heart element. The Solar Age, I think men being open and confident in their feminine energy makes women want them more. 1000%. Because when a man is in touch with his femininity, he's not extractive. You know what I'm saying? When there's balance there, like, because he has that and he can create that for himself. So he's not lacking in that energy, that creative energy, that nurturing energy for himself. So he doesn't have to suck it out of the feminine in his life. And same thing with women. Like when women are in balance with their masculinity, they have that resourcefulness. They have that, what am I trying to say? That proactiveness. They have that ability to make things happen. And so they're not looking around their life for the masculine to do that for them. You know what I'm saying? It is a balance, and like each, and it's so funny too, because when you're in a relationship with someone, right? Say you're in relationship with one person, they have their balance, whatever that is, with divine masculine, divine feminine, regardless of gender. And then you have your balance of divine masculine, divine feminine, and then you bring that into relationship with each other. And now there's like a balance as well that is like trying to play out like with this relationship. And that's why relationships are our biggest learning opportunity, right? And that's like relationship period. Like that could be your friend, that could be your romantic partner, that could be your parent. Any relationship, you have these dynamics that are trying to find their equilibrium. Okay, New Vista said at Solar Age, his emblem was both logos, right? Yes. Do you guys remember? You probably, I don't know if you remember this or not. I've been somebody who has watched football a lot in my life, but I'll never forget when Prince did the Super Bowl and he he had his guitar and it was in the symbol of the masculine and feminine. And then like the way that he was holding it and like the shadow it was creating made it look like it was his giant like penis. Oh my god, I'll never forget that. That lives in my mind. Like he was wild. Okay. The Solar Age says that's why they're all over Prince. The Solar Age says at New Vista, I think it was both. Yeah, it was like a blending of both of the signs. New Vista said balance and embodiment of both energies between two parties is definitely an adventure, right? Oh my gosh, it really is. And like that's why relationships are always our biggest teacher. And Pacific Tree Frog says that's hilarious. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. You guys, this has been an amazing conversation. Does anybody have anything else that they want to share? Okay. I'm getting some other comments as well. Let me hop over to YouTube. Happy Bride Month, y'all. And then I have a girl question from Kamara. Sure, go ahead. Ask away. I'm here for you. Thank you for joining me from YouTube, guys. My name is Amy Titus. I'm an intuitive and psychic development coach. And, oh gosh. And I help people to develop their intuitive and psychic gifts. And I help people to lean into and embody their multidimensionality. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. The Solar Age says, always grateful for your time and energy as always. Your lives bring me so much joy. I know, I love spending time with you guys. Thank you so, so much. And I will definitely talk to you later on this week. Please, well, I'll see you ladies in the community as well. And have a wonderful night. Happy solstice. Happy solstice, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Bye, guys.